When we are talking about the aldehyde synthesis, typically we are thinking about the oxidation of primary alcohols, but that's not always the most convenient method. So in this video I'm going to talk about the opposite way of making aldehydes by reducing carboxylic acid derivatives. We are going to talk about the classic methods such as Rosenmund reduction, and we're also going to talk about reduction of carboxylic acid derivatives with different complex hydrides. So let's start with the Rosenmund reduction. In this reaction we're going to start with the acid chloride and we're going to reduce it with hydrogen on the poisoned catalyst. Typically that's going to be palladium poisoned by barium salts and quinoline, so very similar to Lindlar's catalyst. But there are some variations, so it's not always just the Lindlar's catalyst. And as a result, we are going to end up with our aldehyde, and HCl is going to be our co-product. Now, from the mechanistic standpoint, this reaction starts by taking palladium 0 and inserting it between the carbon and chlorine. And as a result of this oxidative insertion, we're going to make a complex where palladium is connected to carbon and chlorine is essentially sort of like a counter-ion to that, if you want to think about it this way. Next, we're going to bring hydrogen that has been absorbed on palladium, and we're going to do the ligand exchange where we're going to swap the chlorine with one of those hydrogens. As a result, we're going to lose our HCl, and now palladium is connected to hydrogen and carbon directly. So from this point we're going to have reductive elimination where the palladium is going to leave our complex, and we're going to end up with our aldehyde. And while Rosenmund reduction might look good on paper, there are unfortunately some very big problems with this reaction. First of all, it is extremely hard to control and reproduce this reaction and reproduce your results. The biggest problem here is the catalyst and the quality of the catalyst. It is extremely difficult to make the same catalyst twice the way it is prepared for this reaction, and because of that, the results can vary greatly. Also, since this reaction uses hydrogen on heterogeneous catalyst, we have a rather poor chemoselectivity because in addition to acid chlorides, we are also going to see the reduction of double and triple bonds, which can really mess up our molecule. So whenever you're doing this reaction, you gotta make sure that nothing else can be affected. And because these limitations are quite serious, this reaction is rarely used in lab settings, it's mostly used in industry, and in the lab we typically use other methods. So alternatively, in the lab, we can use the complex hydride as the reducing agent to convert our acid chloride into the corresponding aldehyde. And since both acid chlorides and aldehydes are extremely electrophilic, we need to make sure that we're using a hydride source that is going to be reactive enough to react with acid chlorides, but not reactive enough to react with our aldehyde. Typically, the most common hydride that is going to achieve that is going to be tributoxyaluminum hydride, which has a significantly lower reactivity than our typical aluminum hydrides, like a regular lithium aluminum hydride or other reagents of that sort. Because if we were to compare this reaction to, let's say, a reaction with regular lithium aluminum hydride, that guy is not going to stop at the formation of the aldehyde, and it is going to continue reacting until we end up with just the primary alcohol, which obviously is not what we want to do here. Now, let's look at the mechanism of this reaction. I'm going to be using these species over here, butanoyl chloride, as my acid chloride for these examples. And to show the first step in this mechanism, I'm also going to draw the structure for my tributoxyaluminum hydride, and naturally we have our lithium counter-ion here as well, but we don't care about that guy too much. So like we would normally expect with any reaction with the complex hydrides and carbonyls, the step number 1 in this case is going to be the nucleophilic attack from our hydride on our carbonyl like so, giving us the following intermediate. Now, in this case, one important thing to keep in mind that aluminum here is going to coordinate around that negatively charged oxygen and pull some of that negative charge onto itself. But even then, the chlorine atom that we have over here is still an excellent leaving group, which means that the oxygen is going to easily kick that guy out, and we are going to end up with our aldehyde version of our molecule. Now, importantly, aluminum is still typically going to be coordinated around that oxygen. So for as long as we keep our temperature low, and typically we're talking about negative 78 degrees, the aluminum is still going to stick around that oxygen, and it is also going to cause a lot of steric hindrance, which means that the next round of reduction, which is theoretically possible, is going to be unlikely simply due to the steric hindrances that this aluminum monstrosity is going to be causing. Now, from this point, we're going to do a typical acidic workup to free our aldehyde from aluminum. Aluminum is going to just form aluminum plus 3 salts. We wash them away with the aqueous solution and never remember about them again. And as I said, the important thing about this reaction is the temperature control. Typically, we see this reaction done at negative 78 degrees. However, the literature does report this reaction done at higher temperature and even at room temperature. But the general rule of thumb, the lower temperature is better simply for the control where the aluminum is still sticking around that oxygen and the complex doesn't just break. Now, another obvious problem with this method, of course, is that acid chlorides by themselves are extremely electrophilic and they're not particularly tolerant of many other functional groups, which is a little bit of an issue, especially if you have a larger molecule with a lot of different functional groups. So another option would be to start with an ester, which is significantly less electrophilic, and reduce it to the corresponding aldehyde. Now, in this case, we have a different type of a problem. The thing is, esters are less reactive than aldehydes, which means that if we are using the hydride that is going to be reactive enough to attack ester, it definitely is going to be reactive enough to attack aldehyde. So the trick here is to use an extremely bulky hydride like this DIBAL, which stands for diisobutyl aluminum hydride. That's why sometimes you can see it's written as DIBAL-H, where H goes for the hydride. This hydride is definitely reactive enough to react with an ester, but it will cause so much steric hindrances that the reaction will just not proceed any further. Let me just explain it showing you the mechanism. So for my mechanism here, I'm going to use ethyl butanoate as my exemplary ester. And of course, I'm going to bring my DIBAL here as my hydride. So step number 1 here, like in the previous case, is going to be nucleophilic attack from our hydride onto the carbonyl, that going to kick the electrons up onto the oxygen, just like we would normally expect. And as a result of this nucleophilic attack, we're going to get the following intermediate. Now, in this case, aluminum coordinates around the oxygen as well, just like it did in the previous example. However, in this case, the bond is significantly stronger because now aluminum doesn't have the extra atoms or extra groups around it that will be able to stabilize that. So it really clings onto that negative charge. And because of that, and also because our ethoxide over here is not as good of a leaving group as the chloride, this complex is somewhat stable. Again, for as long as you're working at a relatively low temperature, typically negative 78 degrees. Now, next step here is going to be the acidic workup. In this case, acidic workup is more than just something to get rid of aluminum. Step number 1 here is going to be a quick protonation of this negatively charged oxygen, giving us the following intermediate, which is technically a hemiacetal. And of course, on top of that, we are going to break up our aluminum species into aluminum plus 3 salts, and the isobutane is just going to flow away as a gas. But coming back to my hemiacetal intermediate, this guy over here, as we know, is not a very stable species. And since we are working in aqueous acidic conditions, it will easily break up and give us our aldehyde. So this part of the mechanism is fairly straightforward. We are going to bring in another equivalent of our acid. We're going to protonate the oxygen of our alkoxy group to make it into a better leaving group, making the following intermediate. Then from here, we're going to have a leaving group dissociation, So our leaving group is going to go away like so, giving us essentially a protonated aldehyde. And then whatever conjugate base I have floating around, it can be another equivalent of my alcohol, or it can be water, or whatever else, doesn't really matter. This base, whatever with the electron pair, is going to come in, pull the proton off like so, and we are going to end up with our final product, which is the aldehyde. And as I've mentioned, the most important thing about this reaction is the temperature control. Temperature control here is extremely important. If you are going to attempt this reaction at a higher temperature, then it is going to just proceed like a reaction with a regular lithium aluminum hydride, and you are going to have an exhaustive reduction and end up with a primary alcohol instead. You gotta make sure that the temperature here is very low. And of course, in addition to the extreme importance of the temperature control, another thing that we need to keep in mind is that the DIBAL species, this guy over here, is extremely pyrophoric, which means that you got to be really careful when working with this compound. Otherwise, if you mishandle it, it can easily cause fire, and fire in organic chemistry lab is never good news. But for as long as you are being careful with that, reaction is well documented, works pretty well, gives decent yields, so overall it is a very good method of making aldehydes from corresponding esters. And one last method that I want to talk about is the partial reduction of the Weinreb amides to aldehydes. This one is probably the best of all the methods that I have described so far, because first of all, Weinreb amides, the molecules with this type of a structure, are quite easy to make, and you can react them with just regular lithium aluminum hydride, which is stable, it's nice, it's commercially available, it's easy to work with, so that makes everybody's life much easier. How exactly we make Weinreb amides and what else they can do, that is a topic of a different video. For now, we'll just start with the Weinreb amide right away, and I'm just going to say that we do typically make them from acid chlorides or esters as well. Anyhow, so let's say we have this Weinreb amide over here. Step number one, like in the previous case, is of course going to be just a simple hydride attack on our carbonyl, so I'm going to show that my hydride attacks my carbonyl like so, and as a result of our nucleophilic attack, we're going to get the following intermediate. Now, if previously I didn't really mind my lithium too much, in this case lithium is actually fairly important, because not only aluminum is going to coordinate around our oxygen over here, but also lithium is going to coordinate around both oxygens of this intermediate, stabilizing that. And because of this double coordination and stabilization with lithium, the Weinreb amide intermediate that we have over here is very unlikely to decompose or kick the leaving group out unless we are going to increase the temperature or go into the acidic workup. These intermediates are fairly stable, and they can actually be even isolated. But if we do want to get our final product, an aldehyde in this case, we are going to bring our acid. So step number one here is going to be a simple proton transfer like this, giving us the corresponding protonated species. Then from here we are going to go through the regular hydrolysis steps, so I'm going to bring another equivalent of my acid. This acid is going to protonate my nitrogen over here, giving me the following intermediate. Now this nitrogen is a very good leaving group, so like in the previous example, we are going to kick that leaving group out like so, giving us our protonated aldehyde as the next intermediate. And now, like before, whatever it is we have floating around with an electron pair, either our amine or water or whatever else, can come in, pull that proton off like so, and we're going to get our final product, our aldehyde. Pretty straightforward and extremely useful. I am going to talk about Weinreb amides in a different video, so if you don't want to miss that one, make sure you subscribe. So, to do a quick recap, the classic method of the carboxylic acid derivatives to aldehydes is going to be the Rosenmund reduction, where we are starting with the acid chloride, reduce it with the hydrogen on poisoned heterogeneous catalyst that gives us aldehydes, and as I've mentioned, the reaction has a lot of drawbacks, and the biggest problem is the reproducibility, so we typically don't use it in the lab. In the lab, however, if we want to start with acid chlorides, we are going to be using lithium tributoxyaluminum hydride as our complex hydride. If we want to start with esters, we are going to be using DIBAL, or DIBAL if you want to pronounce it like that. And finally, if we don't want to mess with acid chlorides, or we don't want to deal with the pyrophoric DIBAL, we can always use Weinreb amide reduction with the regular lithium aluminum hydride, which is also going to give us our aldehydes. So now you have yet another tool in your synthetic toolbox, so whenever you need to synthesize aldehyde in the future, you'll have more options. And as always, thank you for watching. If you like this video and learned something new today, boop the like button, subscribe for more, and I will see you next time.